Hi, it's Todd at Todd's Workshop and Todd Cutler here, and today we are looking at the evolution of the bollock dagger. Now, half of you out there know exactly what a bollock dagger is, and the other half of you are going, why is Todd holding a knife that looks like a cock and balls? And when did he go mad? But these things really existed. 14th through to 16th century bollock daggers all over Europe. So let's have a closer look. Now, daggers, both military and civilian, came in loads of different styles in the medieval period. But one of the most popular ones from around about 1300 through to around about 1600 was the bollock dagger. This one here is dated to be around 1300, and Chaucer even wrote about them in the 1360s, 1370s, and they carried on getting more and more popular through to around 1500, where they began to phase down a bit, but they still stuck around, in fact, to the modern day. There are modern soldiers, so the Highland dirk originated from the bollock dagger, and that is still used in ceremonial uses by Scottish soldiers today. So starts around 1300, and this fantastic penis-related joke runs all the way through to the modern day. But in its heyday, that's still a 350 year lifespan for one style of dagger. So let's dig a bit deeper. So the first question you have to ask is, why have a knife shaped like a dick and balls? Well, the answer is both simple and complicated. It's simple in that this is an ancient symbol. The cock and ball symbol it predates Rome. And it is a symbol that is still scrawled by school children, adolescents, even men, especially drunken men, continuously right through to the modern age. So I'm not saying that you find it funny, but you do have to admit there are plenty of people out there who do. So in medieval times, you could wear this joke, literally, and people appreciated it and they laughed at it. But sometimes there's room to improve a joke, and they did that too. So it also depends where you want to wear it. And right here at the front is a place that they certainly did. But if you think that it just stops with daggers, this fantastic humour, it doesn't. Bollock pouches as well, another absolute medieval standard. So that is the simple side of it. It's just a crude joke, nothing more. But then we get to the complicated side, because what drove them to make a dagger that looked like this? A joke lasts 10 years, great, brilliant. But if it lasts 300 years, there was something very good about this weapon, about this tool. Well, the thing is, if you look back at the origins of a bollock dagger, they are peasants' knives, they are poor people's knives. And that means that you are trying to do away with all the bits of metal that you don't actually need to be a knife. You've got a simple wooden handle. I mean, this has got a brass cap on this one, but you have a simple wooden handle, you have a simple blade, not that big, not that long, and you have a knife. It is a medieval multi-tool. That is how they began life. Now, if we look at these two quillen daggers here, this is a standard quillen dagger, this is a basilard. This one has metal fittings, obviously, here and here. You don't strictly need that for a knife, but this has a military purpose, so that's why they're there. We have a basilard here. Although it doesn't have a guard and a pommel in the same way, it has a lot more metal in it than a simple bollock dagger. That makes both of these, which are around at the same time this was, more expensive. And I think the drive was low cost, and that is what delivers the bollock dagger. So let's go to the lathe and start working our way through the problem. So we have a perfectly functional knife handle, but the wood is thin. And that means it's weak. So the easy answer to a guard that's too thin is make it thicker. Here we go. Now I'm back from the lathe again, and I've left a lot more wood at the front of the handle. And so we've got there about 25 millimeters, 1 inch. That makes it tough enough, strong enough to withstand a blow, especially when it's a wood like this one, boxwood, which an awful lot of bollock dagger handles were in. It's tough. But there aren't any handles like this in the archaeological record that I know of. even though it's a really simple, really good way to make a knife. Very straightforward. So there has to be some kind of a leap that has turned it from this simple thing into the slightly more complicated, but still simple, bollock dagger. And I think it might have been a little feature here. Running right down is a crack. Now, it could well be that the guy who owned this thought, you know what? I could just open that up a little bit. I've got a little, well, nice joke. Might be that a bit of wood just split away. Who knows? But the point is, in some moment of comedy genius, the bollock dagger was born. And it went from this to this. The go-to knife for 300 years. And so the humble bollock dagger was born, round about 1300, a bit later maybe. But all through the 14th century, they stayed simple. So they're single-edged, broad blade, strong blade, a blade that you can work with, a blade that you can press on the back of, that you can put your thumb on for fine carving, whatever it is that you're doing. Yes, it's part weapon, civil defence, but it is also a working tool. Going double-edged, for instance, it's just not the thing for these people, for this time. And so double-edged blades came in later, and we're going to circle back to that. But right now, through the 14th century, single-edged was where it was at, the medieval multi-tool. So it's quite clear with the way that they made these, that they understood the rude nature of them, the rude joke. And sometimes there's always normal people who just follow the crowd, and there's other ones who really have to stand out. And so if you want to get a bit more anatomical, you can go like this. Now the thing is, this one is not actually copied from an original example, but you can bet that they absolutely would have done it. Somebody out there would have made them like that. By the 15th century, the middle and higher classes decided that they were missing out on the action and they wanted a little bit of bollock dagger time as well. So they started going to double-sided blades like these two here and fitting guards on them as well. Some of them even got really fancy like art knives, but the point is they didn't need to work with them. So they could be purely offensive, purely dress, man jewellery. But also they did actually become dress accessories in their own right, not just a knife. So I've got my pouch here, and you often see in the artwork the dagger thrust through the pouch, thrust down or horizontal like this, and it means that when you get up in the morning, when you want to go out, all your necessary is here. Your money, your knife, your pouch, your belt, it's all there in one. So they just carried on evolving all through this period. But let's not forget, the poorer classes, the working classes, they still needed daggers too, and the bollock dagger remained popular with them as well. So although it now moved into the higher echelons and really fancy, extraordinary pieces were made, nice basic ones remained as well. But what became very clear in the 15th century with the working men's versions is that they started to have a look at how they could make them good fighting knives and good working knives. So a lot of them end up with this kind of strange shape here, which is unusual in the modern world, but it means that you can still work with it on the back, but you still have the double-edged nature of a dagger. And again, this one here is more normal looking, but it's got a flat back here, so you can work with it. But a nice diamond section blade here. So by about 1500, bollock daggers are falling out of favour with the upper classes. They seem, as far as I can tell, to be falling out of favour with the lower classes as well. I have to admit I have a bit of a gap in my knowledge here, and I'm not familiar with pictures and artwork from about 1500 to 1540 that show these knives. So if you know it, bring it on, because I want to know more. I want to know what they were doing in that period. But then we have the Mary Rose. The wreck of the Mary Rose sank in 1545. And when that was pulled up, they had lots of bollock daggers on it, but they were different. So these ones here, they were turned, and then a little bit of carving on it. The Mary Rose one, like this one here, seems, as far as I can tell, to have not been turned. They seem to have been carved out of planks. And just have a look at this picture spread here from the Mary Rose book, The Weapons of War. Just showing very similar hilts, but all slightly different. So one of the other aspects that changed about it was we've gone back now from the double-sided blades to the single-sided, but they're long. Traditionally longer than a fighting knife would often be, at least in the modern sense, especially in close-quarter combat like on a ship. But anyway, that's what they did. But it's single-edged, it's a tool. But the other thing that they've done is they've got rid of these big fancy guards like these, and they've gone for what I've termed an impact plate on the inside here. And that impact plate allows you to resist blows, but it's sort of low profile. It's fairly cheap, it doesn't get in the way, it doesn't catch on things. So for being a Navy man, a really good solution. But then it goes on, because that's not the end of the bollock dagger story. So far we've done about 250 years, but they keep on going. So for the rest of Europe and for most of England, they do completely fall away. But in northern England and southern Scotland, we end up with a dudgeon dagger. Now, this has gone back small again. They went for some really weird blades, but this is just standard double-sided. But the point is, you can absolutely see the origins of the bollock dagger. You can absolutely see the parallel between those two pieces here on the shaping of it. Direct descendant of this. Abandoned everywhere else, but up in northern England and Scotland, it remains as the dudgeon dagger. Dudgeon dagger because that's actually an old medieval Renaissance word for boxwood, which the handles were so often made of. You might think that would be the end, but in fact it's not. Dudgeon daggers ran really from about 1580 to 1630, 1640, something like that. And then we carried on with the dirk. And again, it's different, it's moved on, it's metamorphosized. The rest of Europe has left the pure old joke behind. And in fact, the origins are beginning to fade, but you can still just make out the bollocks on these pieces and the shaft of them. But by 1700, this is gone. And the whole concept, the whole origins of the bollock dagger have faded into obscurity, and it's been stylized away. And sadly, the longest running joke in weapon history, possibly the only running joke, I don't know, in weapons history, has faded into the shadows. And that is the story of the bollock dagger. Long lived, and may it carry on. Lovely that we've got this renaissance now where we can all wear them and sport them with pride, as they should be. So thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed that film. And of course, all of these pieces, everything in this story is available from toddcutler.com. We've got a second channel. Go check that out. And other than that, I hope you've enjoyed it, and we will see you again. Who'd have thought that our soldiers are holding penises? Let's not use that. That's probably one for the outtakes, isn't it?